Okay, we're back with the show. It's Gerald Glassford, and I'll tell you what, it's just a great pleasure to be back with him once again. Not only is he our man in the know when it comes to NASCAR, drone racing. I'm telling you, he's got a plethora of things that he could talk about. Fantasy football, just the list is endless. But for today, this is one of his, I would say, favorite pet projects to talk about because it was a show that many thought was done. It was gone by the wayside, but was picked up by another network. The show I'm talking about is The Expanse. And if you didn't catch the trailer recently that came out at New York Comic Con, I hope you get a chance to because it brings a new light into the great series that is The Expanse and what the future may hold for it now that it's moved from sci-fi over to Amazon. And with me today is a good man indeed talking about that and, of course, anything else he wants to talk about when it comes to pop culture. It is Marcus de la Garza. Good to have you back on the show, my friend. And
Well,
you're right. I agree with you. Geico is number one.
well, thank you for having me back, and thanks for relaying my message last week about the Geico commercials because I really do feel strongly about that. Josh was wrong. Um,
At any time I could prove Josh wrong is greatly appreciated.
yeah, and you know what it is Geico just they've got the formula down right now, and we'll see how they end up. Here in the next 6 months, I'm sure that they'll lose their steam when it comes to ad power, but we'll see.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm still upset with the fact that the He-Man commercial was not included in their top 10. I'm not appreciative of that at all because I think that is clearly the best one. But you know what? Hey, I'm not going ahead and being part of the voting, so it's all done and said with. So, but Geico is a little bit better than Farmers Insurance, but both are very entertaining, and I hope they both continue that style of commercial making going forward. But we're here to talk about The Expanse, my friend. It did come out as far as the trailer for season 4. It's not expected the series for still a little while yet. So we'll talk about that in a second. I want to get your thoughts first off on the trailer itself. What did you think specifically about the New York Comic Con trailer?
Man, I honestly, it's there's a lot of things going on here, right? And there's a lot of questions that I'm sure you've got as far as, will the change to Amazon help the series, that kind of thing. And there's a lot of things that the trailer itself answered a lot of those questions for us. Right away, you see there's an entire different style of not entirely different, but they've upgraded the costuming a little bit. They've made it a little less harsh, a little bit more palatable. You'll see some of the characters kind of wearing some things that are I guess less sci-fi-y. Sci-fi as a studio is interesting, or as a company is interesting.
Well, the way they go ahead and go about things has kind of always been interesting because even though they've got the backing of Universal, they've always treated their shows and had the look of a seriously low budget type of feel. And I've never really got on with many of their shows except for Deadly Class. And that's the only show I really liked outside of The Expanse to any degree. And of course, they cut that one. So,
Well,
what do you
and
say?
to kind of build on that point, it's Warehouse 13 was what brought me back to sci-fi years ago, and that was I wouldn't call that a great show, but it was entertaining.
Yeah, I saw that in syndication. So, yeah, I hear you on that.
Yeah. So, but it's to redirect back to the Expanse here. The Comic Con trailer was amazing, blew my mind. The visuals were great. I think the CGI this season is going to be a step ahead, and it's one of those things that I don't think we really suffered that much in previous seasons. But you have those moments where it's like, man, we could have spent another 10,000 on that, couldn't we? And I'm just making up numbers here. We don't know how much money it costs to build something like that. And Gerald, you might have a better idea than I do.
Not anymore. Not anymore. The prices have jumped considerably since I was in the business. I mean, you're talking a 20, almost now a 25-year difference. So that, I mean, just you could talk about inflation now skyrocketing those prices of whatever a shot, a scene, now even an entire series or show now costs. I mean, could they be getting a group rate? Could they be getting a per scene type of charge? It all depends on the agreements that they have with these, now fledgling or even diverse number of special effects companies, which were in the smaller amount back in my day. Now they're just all over the place because they're so computer driven at this point in time. You don't need the 15 to 20,000 Silicon Graphics workstations I did when we were going ahead and we were doing things on the computer back in the 90s. So it's a lot different ball game now, my friend.
It is. And I guess to build on that, man, is we're going to see the return of most of our characters. That'll kind of bridge the gap there. But as far as, animation and CGI goes, this is going to be a different animal this season. It's going to be a lot more palatable. And even just looking at the way things are shot, we're not changing, directors. We're not changing, and I'm sure there's some producing changes here, but I mean, for the most part, we kept our same staff. They just relocated from Sci-Fi over to Amazon, and that was a beautiful thing. And if the Pop Culture Cosmos listeners didn't follow along with that, I know you mentioned it a few times last year, but there were Discord servers going. I'm a member of an Expanse Discord server. Shout out to them. And it was a beautiful thing to watch people come together and lobby the studio and lobby, whoever they needed to lobby to get things going. And eventually we made it to Amazon. And a lot of that was Jeff Bezos was, I believe he was a fan of the show initially, and then he really became a fan of the show once they bought it. So,
well, of course, he's got still the cashola to go ahead and do so.
Yeah. So, but to build on the Expanse 4, the season 4 Expanse trailer, Comic-Con really brought us some really cool things as far as just visuals alone. And I know I keep saying that and it's a little bit boring, but we're going to be bringing the Rocinante down onto Illis, which is a brand new planet for us. At the end of season 3, we opened up the ring gate and we've got 1,000 habitable planets now. And that is going to give us some really, really interesting storylines over the next year or two. Season 5 has already been confirmed by the Amazon. So this is going to steamroll some people, I think, as far as people getting caught up on seasons 1, 2, and 3, getting really involved in season 4. I don't see season 5 slowing down, but this is a different season than we've been exposed to. We're actually going to be on solid ground for a majority of the season, I think, especially in the book, you're on solid ground for a majority of the season. You still have your space scenes. You have people still up on the Rocinante, up in orbit, but a lot of the drama we're going to be exposed to is going to be on the ground. A lot of Holden exploring proto-molecule leftovers on planets beyond the ring gates. It's going to be a lot of fun, Gerald.
I believe so as well. A key factor for the series, though, is how it performs within the first 10 days. That Nielsen just started giving out results. In fact, as we were speaking, the day that we recorded this, they first started giving out results of how they perceive success and not so much success as far as ratings are concerned for Amazon. So they can now gauge exactly how well a show like The Expanse, who on December 13th of this year will go ahead and debut on that network, which is kind of cool in the fact that its original air date was right in and around that time on the 15th back in 2015. So we're going to have to see in the first 10 days exactly how well it performs. To give everyone an idea of how well a successful show is, The Boys, which is an extremely successful show, that is going to be one of the best shows of the year, and that debuted to 4 million viewers in its first 10 days. Not Netflix numbers per se. They don't have to reach those kind of numbers, but still, those are very strong numbers out the gate. And to give in The Expanse any type of idea, even half that much, 2 million, I mean, that's a good sign. But you're right. Getting an approval for another season already, even before the season 4 has started, is a great sign for the future for The Expanse.
Well, and I'm sure, Amazon's going to do some cost benefit analysis there. And, how much of that is, we bought this franchise, we should probably at least throw a second season at it, a fourth and a fifth season at it.
Of course. You're always worried, though, because of the ratings on Sci-Fi. You're not sure how misleading it is as far as popularity is concerned, because the network itself as a whole, outside of what was WWE SmackDown on the actual network itself, how little of it was viewed for many segments of the actual day during the course of the week for the actual network itself.
Right. Here's a question for you, Gerald, and this is something that I really think should be interesting for the listeners too. Is does Amazon release any of their play numbers? And we just talked about the tracking of the trailers and stuff, but I mean, with this new system, are we going to have better I
Yes,
guess the
you will have a better idea because it's the first time you really get to see what the numbers are like for Amazon, because Amazon has been, I mean, Netflix, I know a lot of people were wondering exactly how they go ahead and do things. And it wasn't until their shareholders report that they actually would go ahead and start telling people
disclosure.
exactly how well their shows do. Amazon has always been reluctant to go ahead and release their numbers because their numbers are not even on close to being on par with what Netflix is. But now that we have Nielsen going into the fray when it comes to what they're seeing and perceiving as numbers for Amazon, we now will get to see a gauge of what shows like The Expanse will do like on the Amazon platform.
Right. I just pulled up the article as well from TechCrunch just so I could take a look while you were mentioning that. This is really going to be amazing to watch the progression of video on demand and what these studios are going to do with it once we have these expanded numbers, coming in from Nielsen.
So you approve of the change of going to Amazon. You think it'll help the series overall?
Absolutely. Better creative direction, I think. You're going to have better equipped writing rooms, whether that's bringing in the occasional consultant or just having somebody on staff. This is a really good this is really good exposure for the show, I think. Just moving over to Amazon, things are going to move much cleaner. I'm hoping we stick a little bit closer to the actual book storylines, since we'll have a little more leeway when it comes to episode length. With sci-fi, we were constricted by that traditional 45-minute episode, or the hour-long episode with 45 minutes of actual runtime, or 40, whatever it is.
But now it could be a very loose interpretation of that.
It can be, and I think we're going to see some modern adaptations of the story. Not modern adaptations, but we'll see a truer adaptation of the storyline from the book because of these expanded,
So what kind of
offerings.
future overall do you see for season 4 and beyond? I mean, like you said, season 5 is already a go, so they don't have to worry about that as far as getting that season taken care of. So what do you see for the future for the series going into season 4 and beyond? Where would you like the show to go? I mean, you talked about being closer to the books. Where would you like to go that's in more comparison and more aligned with the books?
I would like to kind of keep things more in chronological order. I feel like there's been times over season 2 and season 3 we've jumped around, whether that's we're jumping into book 3 to pull in storylines from book 3 into season 2, and I get that because you've got to just plant those seeds early so that you can tie into the next season, correct? And
Do you think it's more of a cherry picking that's gone on? Because producers have a tendency to do that. They
Yes.
often cherry pick from stories from the books.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's that's everyone's prerogative, right? Like if you're producing the show, you get to pick and choose the aspects that you want to include in this show, and it's one of those things. I think that when you have a little bit more time and a better run studio, things are going to come out a little bit cleaner, a little bit truer to form.
Fair enough indeed. It is Marcus de la Garza, one of our awesome people that stops by every now and then on the Pop Culture Cosmos. Tell you what, cannot thank him enough for being a part of it. But I want to ask one more question when it comes to The Expanse, and that is this. With the right kind of hype, with the right kind of promotion behind it, that we're probably going to see during the course of November, and what you and I believe is one of the busiest months of the year, because you have all the stuff that's going on for Black Friday, you have all the stuff that's going on for Oscar movies, and then you have the hype coming up for Star Wars, the Rise of Skywalker. With the right kind of push for The Expanse, do you see it evolving into something really special for the network in the line of, let's say, what we've seen with The Boys, because The Boys has been such a success story for the network?
Man, that's a tough question to answer, Gerald. And the reason why it is the Boys came out and it was a totally different storyline. It's something that we've really never seen in TV or movies before, really taking that bad boy side of the superhero, right? And even just jumping over to a different studio, I don't think that's going to be enough creative freedom for The Expanse to kind of reinvent itself, a la The Boys. The Boys is hitting with shock and awe. I can't tell people enough. Really, go watch that show. It is phenomenal, and it really will make you kind of take a look at the way we've looked at superhero stories for the last 10 years.
Couldn't have said that better myself.
Yeah. And so I guess to really succinctly answer the story, it's not going to be as big of a splash, or it's not going to be as big of a in your face storyline as the boys, but I think it's going to make a humongous splash for the platform, for Amazon and beyond. It's going to be, I just see on, unrestricted growth for this series. Whether it's the book series or the TV series, I think this TV series is about to really blow up. We did have good numbers for season 3. Man, I just had those numbers up too, as far as their premiere and their season finale numbers. But we'll see, Gerald. I think this is going to be a really formative period for Amazon with their introduction of the boys, the debut of the Expanse for them, and then everything else that they've got lined up for the next year.
Well, when it comes to the numbers on Amazon, they will probably have more eyes accessible and also watching the actual show itself than what you saw on Sci-Fi, because Sci-Fi had what, a 0.04, 0.05, whatever it debuted at as far as the last season's concerned, is still the number there as far as the number of homes actually watching the show will actually rise or be probably go even further than that when it comes to who is watching the Expanse, because I'm anticipating somewhere close to, not close to the boys, but maybe close to half of that much, 2 million, maybe even possibly 2.5 million viewers within the first 10 days. And you're talking still over the course after that, over the course of weeks and time and whatnot, with good word of mouth, you could talk about 5-6 million viewers by the end of the month watching by the end of the year watching the Expanse, and that's a lot more viewers than they had in their runs on Sci-Fi.
Yeah, and I mean, I just pulled up season 3, and you were spot on. It was a 0.65 for their premiere. They finished with a 0.60. I mean, these numbers are going to get blown out of the water. You called it yourself, man, Gerald. This is going to be 1.52, like you said, 1.52 million within the first 10 days.
And that's what you want if you're Amazon. So that's a great sign for Amazon now that it's on that platform, and hopefully fans like yourself of the Expanse, and we'll get that burst of energy back into watching the Expanse. Hopefully the show will evolve even further into seasons 4 and season 5. You're going to come back on hopefully in December to go ahead and tell us what you think of the Expanse and where it's going into the future for that show as it premieres on Amazon, because I'm going to count on you, man, when it comes to that.
Yeah, there are a lot of things that we didn't cover today, just because I don't want to give people the storyline before we get right into it.
No, you don't want to give people that. Have them go ahead and watch the old episodes.
Yeah, watch the old episodes. Let's get caught up. When we get back together in December, we're gonna aggressively go out. They'll have let's see, 1, 2, possibly 3 more trailers come out before then. So we'll have some material that we can really cut into. Today is really, it's just, I'm feeling ramped up about the fact that these numbers are going to be great for the Expanse. It's going to be great for the long-term growth of the franchise. This is something that maybe we'll see. God, wouldn't you love to see a theme park partnership with this? Maybe that's just me, though.
I would hope so, something like that. It would seem like it's a natural fit for that. It's just name recognition. Is there enough name recognition for the show to be in that type of platform? So if it grows to the extent that we hope it will, that could definitely be a possibility down the road.
Absolutely. So I'll be on closer to December, and then before then, I would like to come back on and talk to the Pop Culture Cosmos listeners about the Drone Racing League and the Drone Champions League.
Just was going to ask you about that, because before we head on out, I wanted to hear your update on yourself and what's going on with what you're doing out there. But I will also have you on as far as an update on the Inside Sports Fantasy Football, because I want to hear your halfway point picks for MVP, best surprise performer, things of that nature as far as that's concerned. So I look for you there just for even 10 minutes to talk about your surprise picks at the halfway point, if that works out for you as well. And we'll also flow in an interview in regards to your thoughts on the Drone Racing League and why people should get into it. I think that's the key, why people should get into it. I'm going to give you a sell job as a salesman to give me a good hard sell job on why people need to get into the Drone Racing League.
Well, let's get into that when we do that interview, but I will tell people we've got some really big changes coming for DRL, DCL, and we've got some new classes of drones that are coming out into the races. So we've got this new class. It's called the X class. It's the Beast class. Gigantic. It's it's bigger than my torso. Let's just call it that. It's very easy to spot in the air. Makes it really compelling to watch big races with these big class drones. So things are going to get really intense over the next 6 months, 8 months. We're going to have some really good growth for that as well. But I'm looking forward to coming back on and talking about some of the major players, some of the major technology that's involved in this, and then look at how they're broadcasting and see if we can encourage some people to get out to some of these baseball stadiums, some of these football stadiums that they're hosting the events at, because it's really intense.
It looks like it's really intense from what I've seen. The battles are really harsh, and they're really, as far as the way they go about, as far as going through the setups and going through the loops and things of that nature, just really, it's very tight-knit racing, and it's very enjoyable to watch, and I hope people get into it. But there's a lot of other things that they're competing with that are also trying to grab those eyes as far as out there in the marketplace. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see in the future where the DRL goes from here.
Yeah, and it'll grow. Believe believe me, it's going to grow. It's still growing. It's growing currently. You know, it's even looking at the beginning of the season. They started out in Miami. They went over to Arizona and flew at the Diamondback Stadium there, and it was. I mean, honestly, for me, it was a magical thing to look at the stands, and you can see that the stands are. I mean, it's not a slam packed house. Let's not go there, but it's you've got 5,000 people there to go watch a drone race. That's a lot of people, man. That's I'm used to going out to my local park and setting up gates and flying around just myself, and occasionally you get a kid that's 10 years old come over and be like, oh wow, that's cool, and you get to change somebody's day because you expose them to a new technology or a new way of coming at a hobby. But to imagine 5,000 people in the stands, it's amazing. This is unprecedented growth is coming for this sport, I think.
It looks like it indeed, and you'll be able to report on that when you come on here very soon, right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos. Well, Marcus, it's just been great having you on the show once again. You've been great, you've been very into depth with us with the Expanse. I'm looking forward to your report coming up in December on the Expanse and how it's going. And any last thoughts on the way out?
No last thoughts other than over the next few weeks, we're going to be, or not we, I am going to be making a huge push on the drone stuff. So listeners, if you're out there, look for some videos. They're coming. I'll be sharing them with the Pop Culture Cosmos.
Oh, that's awesome. We look forward to it. Can't appreciate enough right here on the Pop Culture Cosmos.